There are battles that don't erupt with noise, with yelling, or visible conflict, yet they leave the deepest wounds. We're talking about a form of silent manipulation, where your silence becomes the very weapon that narcissists fear the most. This isn't a story about a villain in a movie. It's about a type of person that often shows up around us. They're charming, confident, and always seem to be in control, but behind that perfect mask lies a chilling emptiness. In this video, you'll understand why narcissists aren't afraid of words. They fear one thing only, your absence, and why awareness, silence, and timely withdrawal are the very actions that cause them to collapse from the inside out. If you've ever felt caught in a relationship that made you question yourself, doubt your own feelings, watch until the end of this video, because what you're about to hear may free you, not just from them, but also from emotional patterns that have held you back for far too long. Narcissists are not always loud. They're not always easy to recognize. They are often very skilled at making a strong first impression, intelligent, confident, charismatic, and seemingly very self-controlled. But it's a performance. And that role is carefully constructed to cover up a truth they dare not face. A lack of inner worth, a deep sense of emptiness, and an obsessive fear of abandonment. Narcissists live by borrowing light from others. They require a constant supply, attention, admiration, and obedience from the people around them. They'll love you for who you are. They're attached to you because you reflect back to them an image they need to believe in, that they are important, that they have power, that they are above. And that's when you begin to feel something is wrong. Your emotions are being spun. You start to doubt yourself. And each time you react, they use that very reaction to blame you. But don't mistake outward confidence for inner strength. Beneath the arrogance is a fragility they are desperately trying to hide. And once you see that, that's when you finally have a choice. They don't talk to understand you. They communicate to direct you like a puppeteer pulling strings. Every word, every silence is intentional. To the narcissist, emotions aren't a bridge, they're a weapon. They will shower you with praise when you submit, then turn cold or critical the moment you assert independence. They probe to find your emotional buttons: abandonment, lack of recognition, fear of being misunderstood. And once they identify them, they press those buttons again and again, keeping you in a constant state of imbalance. One day you feel loved, and the next you feel like a burden. You don't know what's happening, and you start trying harder to please them. And just like that, they've taken control of you, not by force, but through your own emotions. Over time, you begin to realize every conversation with them revolves around one thing: you're wrong, they're right. You react too sensitive. You don't react cold, lacking love. You cry weak. You silent attitude. This is not a dialogue. It's an emotional cage built with repeated phrases and calculated tactics, making you unable to distinguish between logic and manipulation. And the most terrifying part, you slowly begin to believe that you are the problem. They don't just want you to react. They need you to react, because that's the oxygen for their fragile ego, which they're desperately trying to uphold at all costs. To a narcissist, every emotion you show, whether anger, disappointment, crying, or pleading, is proof that they have power. They can make you cry. They can make you lose control. They can make you believe you are the issue, and that makes them feel important. You might think, I stay silent just to keep the peace. But if you're silent while your inner world is tangled with pain and confusion, you're still playing their game. To them, every expression, every tear, every long text trying to explain is a signal. You're still under control. And when you react, they twist it, turn it into proof that you're unstable. Use it to dodge accountability. Tell others you're the difficult one who can't control your emotions. Here's the truth. The more you react, the more you feed their illusion of control. They don't want genuine connection with you. They want to control your emotional experience, to keep you in the loop. Pain, effort, disappointment, repeat. But every game requires a player. And when you stop playing, what they fear most begins to happen. The truth begins to surface, and they have nowhere left to hide. They once believed you would always react, that you had to react, that with just one insult, one vague emotional withdrawal, you'd flare up, get hurt, become confused, and try to explain. But this time you didn't. You didn't scream. You didn't justify. You didn't keep playing. You chose silence. Not the silence of suffering, but a deliberate, calm and clear silence. And that is what begins to shake their entire manipulative system. To the narcissist, your silence isn't emptiness, it's a threat. Because when you don't react, they no longer know what you're thinking. They can't control your emotions. They lose the mirror that used to reflect back their power. And they begin to panic. At first, they resort to old tricks, provocative texts, blame shifting, even playing the victim. Then comes the anger, trying to create drama, smear your name, doing everything they can to get a reaction. But if you still don't respond, they become lost. They can't stand the silence, because in that silence, they begin to hear their true inner voice, the fears, the emptiness, and the realization that there's no one left to control. And that's when the quiet collapse begins. No shouting, no tears, just a silent crisis as they realize no one believes in their performance anymore. Saying enough doesn't always come as a scream. Sometimes it's just a sigh, a message left unsent, a phone call you no longer answer. But to the narcissist, that small act is the loudest declaration, I'm no longer playing this game. When you set boundaries, whether clearly or silently, you are redefining your own worth. You're declaring that no one else gets to decide whether you feel happy or sad today, that your peace no longer lies in someone else's hands. Narcissists can't tolerate boundaries because boundaries force them to face the most painful truth. They do not have the control over others that they believe they did. Boundaries are not just saying, I won't allow this anymore. They are also saying, I will no longer abandon myself for you. Make no mistake, setting boundaries is not an act of hate. It is the deepest act of self-love. It's the way you tell yourself, I deserve a life free from constant doubt, suffering, and emotional distortion. And the miracle is this: when you stand firm in your boundaries, you don't just change your relationship with them, you rewrite your entire relationship with the world. Narcissists rarely cry in front of you. They don't scream apologies. They don't beg you to come back. They might seem cold, even better than ever, but don't be fooled by appearances. The real collapse doesn't happen outside. It happens inside, in silence. When you walk away with no bitter words, no arguments, they have nowhere left to project their narrative, no more reactions to manipulate, no one left to mirror back the ego they had carefully built. And in that emptiness, they're forced to face what they feared all along: invisibility. No one cares what they're doing anymore. There's no one left to torment, to impress, to dominate. They may pretend to move on, flaunt a new life, a new relationship, a happier version of themselves. But it's all just a frantic performance to fill the void you left behind. And the irony is, the more they try to prove they don't need you, the more they must confront the truth that no one else ever responded to them the way you did. Because to them, you weren't just another person. You were the biggest mirror, the ultimate supply for an ego that couldn't stand on its own. And now that the mirror is shattered, they're left alone with themselves. A self without shape, without foundation. A void no one sees, but one they hear loud and clear every night. Freedom is not just about leaving a narcissist. Freedom is when you no longer react the way you used to. It's when you no longer feel the need to explain yourself to someone who never truly listened. It's when you understand that you don't need to win an emotional battle you were never meant to fight. Your silence is not surrender. It is awakening. It's the moment you return to yourself, to your boundaries, your worth, and the peace you were always meant to have. And maybe they will never understand why you went quiet, why you walked away, but that no longer matters because you understand yourself now. And that's the only thing you ever needed. If you're on a journey of reclaiming your voice, if this video has stirred something within you, hit subscribe so we can meet again in the next reflections to come. Because here, you don't have to pretend to be strong. Here, we don't sugarcoat the pain. We go deep, we get clear, and we learn how to step out without losing who we are. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, true peace doesn't need anyone's permission.